Alright, so this map was the hardest map to route for speedrun sitting due to its very interesting gimmicks, and because of that I kind of have to do the commentary part. So the first one is that you only have 7 commenters to finish the map, and 1 dying because it's a game over, so you have to be careful with your placement and grove usage. So the second is that every 2 turns, 1 ally turns against you for 1 me-phase, pushing you to encourage the boss to avoid taking too much damage. Even if that is a problem, we're going to use that to our advantage on turn 2 to allow a good setup to use this trap on turn 3. Cycle is always again the same: Toji, Nuru, Ragna, Caesar, Falter, and Damrake before looping again. So the first 6 turns are about the same strat. Destroys the trap on turn 3 using Valder's Groove and Toji by putting Valder at risk. So he has a chance to die, but it's not that likely and it's all in. Worth noting that if the dog dies on me phase turn 1, you're guaranteed to die, so just reset. So right there, depending on the damage you take here, Valder is at 1 HP. He can be at 2, but he can also just straight up die. He can also just have to die, just die on the next turn, depending on whatever the archer and the soldier are going to do. The soldier is definitely the big thing that can kill Valder, so that's why we're killing it, and the archer is not that big of a threat anyway. They're not even a threat overall, so we just kind of ignore it. So the trap is killed with both the infantry crit and Toji. It can still survive at 1 HP, and then Valder just kills it on the next turn. So while we do that, you want to build Groove with Mersha to heal up, Nuru to start spamming pikemen, and Caesar to prepare for wave 2. While in doing so, at this point you also want to build Ragna's Groove.
I'm here to help.
To have it available for phase 3, and you want to trigger it before she gets berserked on turn 5. To do that, Toji and Ragnar take care of the golem, and will go very offensively with Mersha and infantry that kills the trap. She will get hit by Nuru, who is going to get berserked. Oh, actually, I messed up. Ragnar is going to be controlled in turn 6 and turn 5. But yeah, anyway, you get the idea. The trigger to make the move is a line right below the spikeman. The forest, I mean. So you want to hit that on the next turn. So right there, Mersha is going to take some damage, thankfully thanks to Emrich's Groove, that will allow her to negate this damage, and instead of being at like 3 HP, she's at 5, which is much more manageable, and this is going to allow her to heal up to like nearly full after Ragnar's hit. So from here, the strat starts to diverge a little bit. It's going to depend on how you handle the trap and how left side happen. I don't really know why things differs, but they do. So this is where you kind of start thinking. Right here, the idea was to kill the pikeman with Mersha because she needs to build her groove. She's going to be the main one that you want to build the groove. Valder as well, you want to have his groove available as often as possible, because it's a very, very good to trigger waves, to have mid shields, etc, etc. Ragna is very, very strat dependent. You only really need 2, 1 for wave 3 and 1 for wave 6, so you have time, especially considering that you're going to activate it right before she gets berserk. Which, by the way, once you get berserk, you lose all your groove, so don't try to build your groove when you know you won't be able to use it. Toji is also very important. We need 2 of them as for the final wave, and he bleeds really, really slowly, so you want to give him as many kills as possible. Nuri is also great because she's going to give pikemen switch charge, very, very valuable units that you want to keep safe as much as possible. They're the only one that really gets damaged by dogs or archers, so you want to keep them protected from loose as much as possible. Commanders don't really take damage from them. So wave 3 is pretty easy to kill. There, I should have used Valder's Groove. You always want to use Valder's Groove when available, but I just misinputted it. It's fine. It doesn't matter too much at this point. Yeah, wave 3 is pretty easy because of Ragna's Groove. She basically allows us to just deal with this wave really easily, while taking your groove as well, because managing both at the same time would be pretty painful. So yeah, depending on who kills the trap, the groove management with Toji and Balder is going to be different, but you still should be able to use barrel bombs on time, where Toji is not able to do much, but is still able to do something, somewhat. So you want to heal right after Ragna's groove. You don't want to heal before, because you know you're going to take a massive AoE, so you need a way to negate that. Which is what Mercer's groove is here for. After that, you can use terrain to handle whatever is left. You always kill dogs on first hit. Mages aren't really strong if you take them on before they do. And you also want to take them on as big priority, because the enemy has a lot of money and they will use it to heal. And it's a real pain. Not so much at this point, but it's going to be a pain in phase 6. Which is why it's so hard. So at this point, phase 3 is pretty much done. So you want to wait before taking on the next phase. I explain it, but Ragnar's groove can trigger the next wave. You don't want this to happen. The next wave triggers on the line right below the forest, on the same line as the trap. You don't want to trigger it too early. Why? That's because A, that's a lot of you need to fight. There's going to be one more golem to fight. And B, you want to be able to damage this trap before it does anything. In order to do that, you're going to either be using Valda's infantry or Bagman infantry, or possibly Caesar's groove is available, so you probably won't. While doing that, you want to prepare some defense with Emery, because you're going to take a lot of damage from this. If, just like this, Caesar is too far away to do anything, it doesn't have his groove available, just put him out of range of everything, he will catch up on enemy phase. Hopefully. And yeah, so putting a pikeman here is going to allow us to block this entrance. That way we don't only have bottom side to defend. And it's also going to make the golem like less of a threat, because we'll have many more units to handle. So in order to handle phase 4, once that's set up, you want to take out every other unit and the golem. Just defend against him, don't attack him too much. Once he's alone, he's not that much of a threat. You also want to take down the trap ASAP, and for that, likely just one other hit should be enough. Even if it stays at 1 HP, it's fine, it's not very scary anyway. You just always want to have someone blocking the way of the top side. That way you only have to care about the bottom side. It's still a scary wave, even though I said it's easy, because like you're gonna have units that are not at full HP when starting it, and even doing it, you're going to take some damage. So you want to stay alive, you want to stay protected, but it's actually not so hard to do. Once again, if you see someone that's low on HP, just use Mercer's Groove, and you should be fine. What I did here was actually kind of funny, because I managed to kite around the top archer with the bombs. You don't have to do it. You might not be able to if Valder kills the trap, but it's still good inside to have, because these birds are not going to do much at this point. This is pretty much improvising strats, because you cannot have a strat fight that is actually like consistent, and considering that any unit dying means that you're gonna die. You're gonna lose about 10 minutes, because it takes about 10 minutes to get here in the first place. So you just want to stay safe, and don't progress too much either. Like, you don't want to start the next wave. The next wave is where the mage is standing right now, or where the trap is at the start. You don't want to trigger the next phase, because otherwise it's going to clog up the space a little too much. You want to started when you're around the forest next to the mountain.
Rise from your
And you're gonna do that once you take down most of the units of phase 4. An old strat consists of sending an infantry on the mountain and then going straight above the knight on the top right. That's going to trigger both phase 5 and phase 6 at the same time.
Yes.
Which makes LOD move, so it's kinda good, but at the same time that makes you fight a massive amount of units. And even if that means you won't have berserk units like you have here, like that basically means that Valder is always going to be on your side, it's never going to fight, if you get it right. It's still a very scary situation and you may as well just take the 40% damage. Especially if you have the groove ready on Mercia, that builds rather quickly. Just stay ready to build the groove on Mercia. If you have any units that have the groove ready, just try to not to feed the kill to someone else. And also, like, at this point, just go forward. So wave 5 is pretty easy, but there is a lot of enemies. And it might be tempting to use Ragnar's Roof just because of the massive damage it's going to do, the big AoE. But you want to keep it for phase 6. It's the same for Caesar or Emmeric's Roof. So just handle it the normal way, keep the groove up. You can still use, very much use Nuru, Mercia, or Valder. You also need at this point to have Dodge's groove ready. You want to use him somewhere around wave 5. If it's not going to be on wave 5, you're going to have a hard time using it ever. So like right now he's in 95, he's going to have it ready on the next turn, which is pretty much perfect at this point. Like that. So here you face a really low chance to die, especially if you use Emmeric's Elder Shield. Again, units that hurt the most here are Trebs, Knights, and Mages, and maybe Pac-Mans, but Pac-Man you should be able to handle them before they reach you. And Mages, once they hit once, they are kind of a non-issue. So you, like, this wave is pretty much a big breather, a big moment to build your groove for the next wave if you couldn't before. Overall, this strat is not really relying too much on having grooves on specific turns. You just need it for a few moments of time, and those few moments is mostly at the start during the first 6 turns when the strats are mostly consistent. Basically for Ragnar, for Toji, for Valder, for Nuru a little bit, or Mercia and Caesar. And after that you most likely want it again for phase 6 on everyone. Which isn't too hard to do considering phase 5 is pretty easy. So the trigger for phase 6 is right on the trigger zone of the trebuchet, from what I've experienced. I'm not too sure about it, but basically you want to stay out of range with your commander of the trebuchet. Being on range of the trebuchet is really bad news, considering that you're also going to fight some knights at the same time. There's 2 knights that you're gonna fight, and then the turn right after there's going to be 2 golems fighting you. Sorry, 3 knights. That's even worse. So you really want to make them coming. And also, if the trebuchet has anyone in its range is not going to move, and you really want it to move on the enemy phase. So a little sketch moment here, because I decided to pop the bombs at a really weird position. The way the bomb works is that they can only be destroyed by archers and mages, so you want to avoid them as much as possible for them. This is why the left archer is kind of scary, so you have to be careful with them. And that's mostly the reason why last time I really wanted to keep those birds around. Surprisingly, I didn't need all 4 here, but I really don't know how to set up a proper kill on LD, so the more you have, the merrier. Because, like, at this point, the mages are basically always going to be on healing duty, and like, it's a pain to deal with. So your birds are mostly going to be here for either killing targets that are really close to death, or killing the mages, or killing LD. Like, they're going to be critical for whatever you're gonna do, so losing even one of them is really bad. So in order to trigger phase 6, a very good way to do it is to use Valder's Groove. Once you do reach phase 6, LD is going to stop taking control of your units. So you can use that to your advantage and wait for LD to be ready to control someone before using it. You don't have to worry that much for it. But you kind of want to use it before someone starts being berserk when you could have avoided it. This infantry can go attack the trebuchet, and that's likely what you should do, because it doesn't cost much. The infantry is basically gonna die, so you may as well just fight the trebuchet as well.
A little help here?
As a general rule as well, you probably know it if you got this far, but you want to use as much the spearman crit as much as possible. Spearmen are really strong and really bulky, so you want to use them at your advantage as much as you can. They are the only way you can one-shot knights with a crit, so you really want to use them for that purpose. And with a crit, they can also kill most of the units around here. So very valuable units here. So this left archer is really annoying. You want to take him down quite fast. If you take him down, you should be able to avoid repercussions, so it's not so bad. You also want to take the strap as fast as possible and take out the knight that just attacked you. Everything else should be able to be handled on the next turn, hopefully. But yeah, wave 6 is mostly just kill those 3 guys and then don't overcommit. Keep you guys safe. Use the bombs when needed in order to take down LD or whatever is blocking your way through her. Also use Ragnar's Groove when you feel like it should be good damage and that's going to be a critical breakthrough to get to LD, or just to deal damage to her. You should be able to deal about 40% damage with someone on LD. You also, if you can, you should also attack a golem and use your protection with Emmerich, of course, because taking golem down to 5 HP is really important. You don't want to damage them more than that, because otherwise they will have their crit, which is really bad. So you just, once they're at 5 HP, just take the counter and then kill them on the next turn if you have to. Again, the mages are programmed to like heal a lot on this map, so you probably won't be able to take them down. So just counter them. Don't try to fight them. It's more of a waste of time than anything. And yeah, if you just have two spots available to attack Volder, to attack someone, you should be able to be fine. And right here, LD is just set up just fine to be killed, so that's what we're gonna do. Using both birds, pikemen to take out the way, and
You're finished!
Ragnar's Groove, and one commander. And yeah, that's it. This strat is really hard to do. It took me about 50 hours to find it, and even if there is a way to find it to finish it in 60 turns, but going away 5 and 6 at the same time is nowhere near consistent for an arcade then. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll have runs soon.